Hey, blessings, glory to the King, saints of the Most High. This is Elder Douglas Becker tonight with this segment of Blog Talk Radio on the Brothers segment. I hope you're all doing well. I trust you all had a beautiful first day, beginning of the 6 days of labor. I know we did here. We did real well out hunting this morning. We're very thankful. Thank you, Brother Ugly, for the sound check. Appreciate it. And I'm glad to know that ever since I started going to Polycom, I haven't had issues with the people hearing me, so I'm grateful for that. But I am privileged and honored by the hand of the Most High to, come before the saints today with this Blog Talk Radio. I do give him thanks. I give him the praise and the honor that he's due now and forever, because he is due. And this is a very great honor, so I thank him for it. I hope you all doing well. Man, Brother Abraham, Sister Carrie, I see you're on. Man, bless your heart in that repressive, tyrannical regime you got down there in the land down under. It definitely is down under now, isn't it? Well, we can sure see it. Geez, well, I hope everybody's praying for y'all, because that's ridiculous. But that's, the coming events, the way the world is transforming to get ready for this beast system to get implemented. So, and pretty soon it's going to be across the whole board here. We just have to make sure that we're ready when it gets here, spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever it takes. Like Paul said, I pray your whole spirit, soul, and body be preserved blameless. Well, them are all the areas we need to work on. So, hallelujah. Appreciate y'all joining me tonight. See Brother Allen from Florida. Of course, Brother Ugly, always thank you, sir, for your labors of love, for the posting of scriptures, definitions. Brother Vincent Resco in his house, bless y'all. Sister Rosa, Sister Brittany, bless you. Those listening by phone, bless you, honey. I see you're on there. Glory to the King. But tonight we're going to talk about prayer and temptation. And we're going to talk about it in regards of more so the passion and the perseverance that it takes to hear from the Most High. Again, as I just got done mentioning, I believe that I do speak about it quite often when I do my blog talks, is that you can see the change in things, that the times are coming. We definitely had a shift in the spiritual realm. You can see it in the natural. So more so than ever, we need to do everything that we can possibly, because it's according to what we do in this life that is going to see where we're going to be in the next life. So, because it's clear that there's a growing persistence and perseverance of our enemies, so we have to in turn have that same type of mindset. And there's no doubt the attacks are really ramping up. And if you can't feel in the spirit, I guess maybe you're not paying attention close enough, but it is here. Just watching, what goes on naturally should be enough to tell anybody that stuff just ain't right. So it's time to get more fortified and more serious as the days come closer to the coming of our King. But with that, we're gonna start this message again. It's called Prayer and Temptation, and we're gonna hit that aspect because I believe it's very important. This is one of the rare messages. Typically, I don't get my blog talks till a day or two before, and I'm even thankful for that time. But this one was like in my mind, the week following when I did my last one. So I think, so I'm assuming that I know that this is something he wanted to be spoken about. So glory to the King. But with that, we're going to start this study. All right. When you feel the need to pray, that inner urging, and yet you don't engage, and who hasn't done that before? Have you ever considered that the Holy Spirit may be trying to warn you that there is a temptation heading your way? How many people actually sit and wonder? Oftentimes they'll get that urge to pray. It might be for somebody else, maybe it's from your spirit, but if you're sitting there, maybe you wake up in the middle of the night like I often do, and you just know that you need to go pray. You're not sure why, and then when you get in it, you can start kind of finding out a little bit more why that urging was there. But how many of us, when we're actually getting that, decide just to poo-poo it off and ignore it because we have other things to do, or we ain't got time, or we're too tired? And I'm sure I'm speaking something common to all men here. Prayer is the one thing no man can take away from you, ever. They can hinder you in every other way, physically, they can restrict you in this world, but they can't take away your communication with Yah. You will only get out of your prayers what you put into them, obviously. I mean, if you're not going to put nothing into anything, don't expect nothing in return, correct? Praying is entering into a press. It is a determination to be heard and trusting that your prayers will be heard, provided that you are walking in righteousness and not wickedness. All right, starting with the book of Luke, chapter 18, verses 1 through 8. Luke 18, 1 through 8. And this is all King James again, and I alternate between Strong's and Thayer's with the definition, or Braun Driver Briggs, whatever the case may be. So with that, we're going to get started in the book of Luke. And this is Yahshua speaking to his disciples. And he says, "And he spake a parable unto them to this end, that men ought always to pray and not faint, or always to pray and not lose hope, and not become weary, and not become afar off, and to drift away, to fail. So men ought to always to pray and just basically hang in there and plow through it." And he was saying, there was in a city a judge which feared not Yah, neither regarded man. So we're getting an idea of what this man is, this judge, in the position that he's taking and where his mindset is. Clearly, Yahshua, he is about to give us an example of the dynamics of passion and determination in prayer, using a figure such as this worldly judge who has no care or concern about what Yah or man had to say concerning, and we're going to find out about a plight of a widow, which is a very touchy subject with the Most High. He regards and he guards and keeps his widows and the fatherless. I did a study on the widow here for Blog Talk back some time, and I'll tell you what, Yah has a lot to say about the widow and the fatherless. And so basically, nothing was going to motivate or move this judge to do anything out other than what he determined for himself that he was going to do. So, again, Jesus starts out by saying, men ought always to pray and not faint. And he's going to show the determination and the passion that it takes right from the get-go and the end result. Verse 3, "And there was a widow in that city, and she came unto him," talking about the unjust judge, and saying, "Avenge me of mine adversary." Okay, Yahweh is the one who said he would personally defend the widow, like I just got done saying. So this judge, this carnal-minded judge, don't even have any regard for that. But yet this woman is going to at least come before this man that doesn't give two bits about anything and keep pushing her case, right? Because she needs somebody to hear what she's got going on, because she knows that she's in a situation where she needs to be avenged. But the fact is, she has got determination and drive, and she's not going to faint. "And he would not for a while, but afterward he said within himself, Though I fear not Yah, nor regarded man." So all of a sudden he's having a change of position, this unjust judge. Why is that? Because this widow was persistent in coming to him. And he said in verse 5, "Yet because this widow troubleth me, I will avenge her." She wasn't going to let up. She wasn't going to back down. She was going to press. You could see it in the context of how she was coming, that she was passionate. She was going to get what she was after. "I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me." And Yahweh said, "Hear what the unjust judge saith. Shall not Yah avenge his own elect, which cry?" So he's given an adjective here, what it takes to carry that passion before him in prayer. "Which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them." And of course, the Most High, he's going to do all things in his timing, not ours. But the fact is, we have to stay in the battle and not faint. He sees all things and knows exactly when to make moves on our behalf. So practice patience and perseverance in prayer. Verse 18, "I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Now this is a promise. This is clearly a promise. Yeshua is saying that our just Elohim and we his children, he will avenge us, and speedily, because of the continual coming. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, very key, shall he find faith on this earth? Faith for what? Faith to stay in passionate prayer. Faith to seek him out. Faith not to grow weary or faint. The faith to stay in passionate prayer, the faith to grow not weary and faint, the faith to wait on Yahweh when he will avenge us of our enemies, both that which is natural and that which is spiritual / demonic. And the only way to stay strong and keep the faith is to stay in prayer. This is the context of this whole thing. Remember, this is how Yahshua started out. Men ought to always pray and faint not. It takes determination and fortitude to stay strong and resilient in prayer. It takes a mind which believes that Yahweh will hear your prayers, provided you are praying things that are right in his ears. So it has to be according to his will. Plead your case. Revelation chapter 6. Revelation chapter 6, verses 9 through 11. Revelation 6, 9 through 11. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw unto the altars the souls of them that were slain for the word of Yah and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice. Again, we have the same pattern here. Those that are on earth were crying with a loud voice. This widow to this unjust judge, and the example that we do the same thing. And we actually have the saints that are in Shemaim. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Yahweh, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood? Because he understands the battle. He really does. He went through it. Jesus in the flesh went through it. So, of course he understands it, the temptation, and the temptation to fall into enticement and actually sin. Dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? Even those saints who have gone into glory still lift their voices to Yahweh, and they have already been granted eternal life. So, how much more should we be crying out as we are still in the flesh and fighting for our souls? I mean, we ain't got no excuse. So they're in Shemaim doing it, and we're still on earth, and they're still crying out for the same thing. There is no letting up with the saints here yet that still have the spirit in their body on this world. Petitions are still being made in Shemaim, and these souls will not have complete rest until they are avenged. Again, a word uses the word cried in Revelation 6:10 when it says, and they cried with a loud voice. And if you look behind the word cried, it's the Greek 2896, krazo, and it means to croak as a raven or scream. That is generally to call aloud, shriek, exclaim, entreat. So we can see that they were entreating, they were crying aloud, they were calling aloud, all right? Trying to get the ear of the Most High, and they were already with him in Shemaim. And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest for a little season. Just take a break. We got this, right? And we understand your passion. We understand that you want Yah to avenge those that came against you while you were on this earth. And it was said unto them that they should rest for a little season until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. You know, if you actually think about it and look it over and study the verses, you know, you can see almost a desperation, almost an agonizing type of plea, you know, from the souls of them which were under the altars. They cried aloud in hopes of a resolution to the petitions. And like I said, you know, those that were in Shemaim, so much more us here in this earth. All right, the book of Psalms, chapter 50. The book of Psalms, chapter 50, verses 14 and 15. Psalms, chapter 50, verses 14 and 15. Again, we're speaking about in the realm of prayer and the temptations that come and why we need to pray, and the passion and the determination and the drive that it takes to defeat the temptation. Or better said, to defeat the enemy that's bringing the temptations. All right. Offer unto Yahweh thanksgiving and pay thy vows unto the Most High, and call upon him in the day of trouble. So we have the same theme going over and over. And when I read Revelation, I read in the book of Luke, it's call upon me, it's cry aloud, and I will deliver thee, and thou shalt glorify me. That's when the avenging comes. And that's how you get delivered. When he hears, when you call upon him in the day of trouble. And oftentimes, man, I can't believe I didn't bring that up, but how could I not? Help me, Jesus. But I've been thinking about what Shepherd preached on Shabbat, and what a nugget. I mean, of course, how we started out at the beginning talking about polygyny, and there's always something that really enhances understanding when you do it visually, right? So again, pastor's done that in the past where he's got and have people get up there and portray certain, husbands, wives, children, whatever. But the demonstration visually always brings a little bit more enhancement to the mind and a little greater understanding. But then when he went and talked about the thorn in the flesh, it's like, wow, I've thought about it over the years and considered it, thinking it once in a while maybe that was just exclusive to Paul, because we don't hear talked about with the way that Pastor brought it out, man. It really opened up, and he's talking about affliction. Who ever considered that there might be a spirit there that is put there or commanded to be there to keep us in a place of humility? Wow. What a beautiful thing, and so much to chew on. So definitely something we all need to go back and listen to over and over. But getting back on the study here, again, this is about prayer. This is about when we're going through something, when something is pressing against us, and what we need to do to combat that. All right, Daniel chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10, verses 1 through, 1 through 13. Daniel chapter 10, verses 1 through 13. In the 3rd year of Cyrus king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, and the thing was true. But the time appointed was long, and he understood the thing, and he had understanding of the vision. In those days I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. So look at the condition that he is. He's breaking down where his heart was at, where his mind was at. It was in a place of heaviness. It was a place of sorrow, because of the things that he saw going around him, and the desperation and the condition of the people, right? I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth, neither did I anoint myself at all till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. So he's recounting what this is going to lead up to. Daniel, what we just read, Daniel kept himself in a constant state of humility by denying his flesh, with a level of fasting, and by staying focused on the plights and sorrow he had been experiencing, having the determination to be heard. But you imagine the passion, what it takes, the drive, the energy, because he needed to get through to the Most High. He needed an answer. He needed help. He wasn't going to stop. So he kept driving and driving and driving. And in the 4th and 20th day of the 1st month, as I was by the side of the great river, which is Hedekeel, then I lifted up mine eyes, and I looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with a fine gold of Uphaz. His body was like the beryl, and his face has the appearance of lightning. So we know that we're dealing with a host of heaven, a heavenly creature in this description. And his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in the color to polished brass. And the voice of his words were like the voice of a multitude. It almost sounds like the description of the Son of Man, doesn't it? And I, Daniel, alone saw in the vision, for the men that were with me saw not the vision. But a great quaking fell upon him, so that they fled to hide themselves. Isn't that something? They could feel the presence and the power of Yah and the host of heaven. Therefore I was left alone, and saw this great vision. And there remained no strength in me, for my comeliness was turned into me into corruption, and I retained no strength. He had just been basically fasting for 21 days, and pouring out his spirit, pouring out his heart, pouring out his mind. And when you do stuff that enters into that kind of realm, I mean, in the spiritual and mental, it can really wear you out in a quick hurry. It's one thing just to fast and not really drive hard for anything, but when you fast and are very active spiritually, it really sucks down your energy. All right, and yet I heard the voice of his words, and when I heard the voice of his words, then was I in a deep sleep on my face, and my face towards the ground. And behold, a hand touched me, which set me upon my knees and upon the palms of my hands. So the angel laid his hand on him, strengthened Daniel, so Daniel could actually get a clear understanding about what was going on and what was about to be spoken to him. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel. Now, don't be concerned about me. I'm here for your benefit. Oh, wait, verse 11. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved. He's giving a report from Shemaim about the way that the Most High feels about Daniel. This is a man greatly beloved. Understand the words that I speak unto thee, and stand upright, for unto thee am I now sent. And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel. For from the first day, the very first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand and to chasten thyself, before thy Elohim thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. Why did he come? Because of the words that Daniel had been speaking from the very first day, which was 20 days back. Two very important things to understand when entering into prayer. You must summon up that passion and drive and cry out to Yahweh to open your understanding, and that you humble yourself. You restrain yourself and become low in your inner man. We have the example here. I'm just not making this up. It's what's written in the text of the page. And Daniel, he had a drive. Clearly he did. He had a determination to know that what was going on. He had faith to believe that Yahweh would eventually provide his answer, and Daniel wasn't wavering from his faith in Yah. He wasn't going to do it. And so verse 13, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia. See, now the angel's about to describe the unseen battle that was happening with going on behind the scenes that Daniel had no idea. But this war against good and evil, the forces of the kingdom of Yah and the forces of the kingdom of heaven. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 120 days, but lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. So we see that battle. So again, this is just another very clear illustration written for our learning and our admonition that when we seek after Yah, when we have a passion, determination, we need an answer. We're submitting our petitions that because Satan's hearing your prayers as well, and he thinks that he's going to do everything he can to get you to stop or to back you down and get you to grow weary and faint, but there has to be a continual coming until there's a breakthrough. Look, it took Daniel 21 days, 3 weeks. I mean, how many of us go 3 or 4 days and that's it? I mean, how often does that happen? I mean, I remember one time back in 2017 that I was pressing in about something. I felt the burning. I felt the passion. And Yah actually spoke to my heart. He truly did. I knew it was from him. There was no doubt. And I didn't expect it at all. I was expecting just hope that he would hear me, but there was something driving me because I needed help at that time. I needed some great help. And he heard me. So it was very humbling. James chapter 5, verse 16. James 5:16 through 18. James chapter 5:16 through 18. Confess your faults one to another, and pray for one another, that you may be healed or made whole spiritually. That's what healing means. The effectual fervent, or to be mighty in, prayer of a righteous man availeth or produces much. So again, confess your fault to one another, pray for one another, that you may be healed. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much, or produces much. Confessing your faults, the first step in being freed from one's prayers not being heard. So make sure that the deck is cleared, so to speak, when you get before the Most High. And secondly, prayers for one another, to those who have confessed their faults one to another, that they may not fall back into sin. This is talking about who we had to pray for, and for others who are in faults and need the intercessions of others who have been made whole or have been converted. So as Yahshua told Peter, when thou art converted, go strengthen thy brethren. How did Peter do that? Well, I can bet you he was on his knees doing it. But the emphasis of prayer one to another is to be done with fervency. This is not a one-time intercession, but prayer is made with much passion, desire, and continual coming. But let me add this, okay? Be careful in how you pray. When you see somebody going through something, when they request your help in prayer, whatever the case may be, you don't want to pray after what your own will for this person is. You need to be making sure that you're praying in according to the will of Yah for whatever you would have, because if he's the one that is calling you or urging you to come help, or the person reaches out to you, you need to know that you're praying in not your own will, because I've heard it before that people try to pray and steer prayers so they can get the result they think they need, or that they think the person needs, when it's totally not in a right type of mindset, if I'm making sense. So be careful that you pray not according to your will, but you pray righteous prayer according to what Yah would give you. But let me say this, okay, this has come up before, Catholicism kind of really blew this out of proportion, but the confession of your faults has to do with what Yahshua spoke about in Matthew 18:15. So we already got the illustration, and none of these religions can fool us. When he was stated that if my brother trespass against you, to go to him and tell him what fault he has committed against you, and that's all. This confession doesn't imply that we run and tell everyone else about what our brother or sister has done to us or has appeared to do to us. And again, just you leave your gift at the altar and you go to your brother. And don't go to one another about conditions which are, harboring in your hearts towards one another, those issues that you need to get right with Yahweh. Again, the confession is the one that you need to clear the deck with, so your prayers will be heard, and so you can get some clarity there. You just don't go tell everybody, or like again the Catholic Church, you sit in some devil and you tell him all your mind and all your heart, and he tells you to do this and say that, and all's good, right? But again, the context here is prayer and avoiding temptation or combating against it. And we have James here talking about praying for one another, but he's talking about a fervency. To be mighty in prayer. To be mighty in your availing much, because this actually produces much. All right, then he goes on to say, Elias, or Elijah, was a man subject to like passions as we are. And he prayed earnestly. He prayed. So James is giving us an example again of what it means to drive. He's talking about an effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man. So he uses Elijah as an example of what a effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man does, and how to be effectually fervent. And he's stating that Elijah was like we are. We had all the common battles, the common enemies, the common faults. And he prayed earnestly that it might not rain, and it rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years and 6 months. And when he uses the term, he prayed earnestly, it's called a Hebraism. He actually prayed in prayer. He wasn't just praying, but he was praying in prayer. He was going in. He was digging in. He's going down in the inner man. Elijah was hit with the same temptations we all are, and he was fighting the same war of the flesh that we all do, and yet because he was a righteous man, one who kept himself from sin and fault, he was able to pray with sincerity. He was able to pray with faith and passion and hope, knowing that Yahweh would hear his petition. Again, there's that same drive. He had a trust. He had a made-up mind that the Yah that saved him and called him out of darkness would hear him. Hallelujah. And again, it goes on talking about Elijah, and he prayed again. And heaven gave rain. So you imagine when you see Yah answer your prayer after you put all that energy into it because you're desperate, and then you see the result and how much more that is going to actually drive you and make you more of a formidable foe against Satan and his kingdom. Man, that just leaves the spirits, them devils, trembling in fear and tremble. And heaven gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. James, again, uses the prophet Elijah to better illustrate the fervency and passion it takes to bring results. Praying with power, with energy and life in it. Prayer from the right heart in faith by a just man. James is appealing to the saints that we must rid ourselves of those things first which hinder us. There comes the confession. In being made whole, such as sins and transgressions, that then urges us to pray for one another, a selfless act of love for the brethren, that they also become into wholeness and healing from those sins, transgressions, and also those ways which have hindered them. And this type of prayer, and this type of action, this type of drive and determination is to the point where a man will lay down his life for his friend. No greater love than a man have this. And this type of passion and prayer for somebody that is in need, whether they come to you or you go to them. But whatever the case may be, you have to lay your life down to actually get in this realm of prayer. Matthew chapter 26, verses 36 through 41. Matthew chapter 26, verses 36 through 41. And again, the context, we're talking about prayer and the temptations and what we need to do as saints to get stronger as a people and get closer to the Most High. I mean, it's in the Psalms. We've heard it said that those that are going to receive the greatest reward are the ones that fought hard in prayer. I mean, above everybody that was put in a position of authority, that was recognized, even way above them, because they had a love that goes beyond just being in leadership or just a brother helping a brother, sister. There was something that compelled them. All right, hallelujah. All right, Matthew 26, verse 36, what did I say? I said it already, verse 41. So we're going to have an example here of, we're going to have the story, the record of Yeshua when he's in Gethsemane about to be crucified, right? All right, then cometh Yeshua with them unto the place called Gethsemane, and saith unto the disciples, Sit ye here while I go and pray yonder. So Jesus is giving them instruction, giving the direction. I want you to stay right here, all right? I need to go pray. And he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, so he brought them a little bit farther, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy, because he probably, well, of course he did. Yeshua knew something, that there was something, even though all the disciples had a love for Yeshua and he had a love for them, there was something about these three that they had a greater measure of faith. They had a little bit more authority in the spirit. They were more resilient in the attacks from the enemy, whatever it may be. But there was maybe a greater passion in them. So Yeshua chose these three to go a little farther. And it describes he was very sorrowful and very heavy. And then he saith unto them, My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here and watch with me. So he's got him in the garden. He says he has to go pray. He takes these three other men, leaders, with him, and he said he's giving them a charge. I need you to watch with me, because this is a great time of the temptation coming against Yeshua. Now you think about this. To me, this was a wow. I put wow on my nose. This is the Son of Yah asking for help, asking for strength in prayers. Yah manifest in the flesh. This was the very Elohim and Shemaim coming down in a body asking for help in prayer. And who are you to believe that you can withstand the temptations of Satan without being determined and passionate in prayer, and if need be, go to others, get others to intercede with you? Jesus already laid it out. He put it out there before us, man. He knew this was a rough battle. He had a temptation coming that would have destroyed everything and never given us any forgiveness. But what did he do? He didn't try to go to the battle himself in this great time of temptation. He went and rounded up some folks that he was counting on to help him with this thing. And this was Yah manifest. This is the Most High, the Elohim. And he's asking, again, who are we? And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. Always recognizing what the will of the Most High was for Yeshua. I mean, to this end was he born. And he cometh unto the disciples, and he findeth them asleep. And he saith unto Peter, What? Could you not watch with me just 1 hour? Just labor with me and pray with me for 1 hour. The greatest temptation of my life is upon me. If I don't get through this battle, if I don't get past this hump, I'm going to be... you can't even write the book of what would have happened on that, because there wouldn't have been a book written, I'll tell you that. But this is what the drive. Again, he found them asleep. How come they couldn't recognize that? They didn't take it serious. Because they always saw Yeshua do the great miracles, and he's the most anointed, powerful, and they all recognize him as Jesus the Messiah, Yah manifest in the flesh. But yet he was crying out. So again, how much more we, right? What better example of intercession can we have laid out before us than this? When we are in times of great temptation, great struggles between the flesh and spirit man, we need to find faithful brethren to help us to press through and get past these times. This is truly laying your life down for a friend, but know that when you are called upon to come to the aid of another, you will be hit with your own difficulties, such as was the result of what happened with Peter and the other disciples. So you understand that as soon as they were called on to intercede and to be an intercessory prayer, they got smacked themselves. A spirit of slumber came on them. Because the devil don't want nobody. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst. It's already written about. There's power, there's authority. Yah wrote it. He's going to answer it according to what he said. Okay, verse 41. Watch and pray. So now Jesus is going to give an admonishment. And these things are written for our learning. Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. That the spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. It can only stand to reason that constant prayer is the way in which we keep ourselves from entering into temptation in every wile of the devil. And the fervency and determination that Yeshua entered into prayer to keep sin from entering in is the same passion we must develop to prevent sin from entering in. All right, we're going to break down verse 41, when he says, watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The word watch just means to be vigilant. It's the Greek 11:27. It means to keep awake, to be vigilant. I'm just going to cut right to the definition that best fits it. It's to be vigilant and watching. To be vigilant and pray. Keep pressed, push on. And the word asleep, I think that was in... sometimes I think I should leave the definitions out because they kind of throw me off track, but verse 40 said, and he cometh unto the disciples and find them asleep. All right, he found them, his disciples. That's the Greek 25:18 in the Thayer definition, kathedio. It means to fall asleep, to drop off to sleep, but I'm going to go down to the one that best is very descriptive of what they did, to yield to sloth and sin. That's what they did. They yielded themselves to it, and they were no help in a man in his greatest hour of need. And that's why Jesus kept admonishing, watch, be vigilant, have passion, have perseverance, push through. I mean, no greater love than a man has this, and he laid down his life. Do you think that they had that great love then and there? Maybe they thought they did. But they did because they couldn't lay down that time of prayer or help for Yah manifest in the flesh so he could get past his battle. And again, this is descriptive about what it means for us here. That's why we're talking about these things. All right, Luke chapter 22, verses 39 through 46. Luke 22:39 through 46. And he came out and went as it wont. Okay, this is just another, in the book of Luke, this is just another recounting of what happened in Gethsemane, but it gives some more added words that we really need to take heed of. It gives us the passion and the drive and determination, the perseverance. It gives us all the things that happened that had to happen in order to stave off the temptation that was trying to get into the King of Kings. And he came out and went as he wont to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples also followed him. And when he was at the place, he said unto them, Pray that ye enter not into temptation. So he's warning them to, because they didn't know when he said it, but he's about ready to call on them to go pray. And he was already warning them that because he had been asked, he was going to ask them to help be sober and watch, to pray and watch with him, so he'd not enter temptation. He already knew that the devil was going to try and prevent that from happening. And we see the devil's always trying to hinder that. Look again, go back to the story of Daniel. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's cast, and kneeled down and prayed, saying, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. And I put this as a note. Did the angel come as a result of prayers for help and strength to overcome that great temptation set before Jesus? Is that what it was? Because he was actively, he was in so deep, trying to preserve himself from this spirit of fear trying to get into him. Is that why he was so in tune with Yah that Yah actually sent him an angel, like he did for Daniel, to help strengthen him? Is this something we can receive when we are in great peril of giving place to the devil? Well, I mean, when we're really striving. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground. What a description. If you can't get the idea of how deep Yeshua went and to stave off this temptation, how far he had to bear down in himself to get free from this, to drive this enemy away, to resist him. Great drops of blood falling down to the ground. Wow. The word agony in Luke 22:44 means, it's the Greek 74, it's the Thayer definition, it means a struggle for victory. Wasn't that what Yeshua was doing? He was in agony, he was struggling for victory. Struggling. It just didn't come instantly, he had to struggle for it, he had to fight for it. He had to be determined that he was going to get it. Verse 45. And when he rose up from prayer and was coming to his disciples, he found them sleeping for sorrow or affliction, because they were tired, they were worn out, spirit of slumber, whatever came upon them. And were they mentally and physically exhausted? That's a question mark I had there. But they were sleeping for sorrow. And he said unto them, Why sleep ye? Man, rise and pray that you not enter into temptation. Whoops, that was it, and verse 46. Okay. But again, we have the same, another repeat of the story, but there's the added dimension about how passionate Yeshua got into making sure that this spirit of fear didn't get a place in him, or he didn't allow it to have place. Let me put it like that. All right, Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 through 4. Hebrews 12, verses 1 through 4. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, all those that have gone before us, all those that have taken away all of our excuse from actually going through the trials and tribulations of this life of entering into the kingdom, entering into Yah's glory. Let us lay aside every weight. So it's telling us what we need to do what the great cloud of a witness that went before us had to do. They laid aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us. And let us run with patience the race that is set before us, because it's not going to come overnight. It's going to take endurance. It's going to take drive, determination. It's going to take all that stuff to get there. And what are we supposed to do to run this race with patience and to lay aside every weight? And the sin, well, again, looking unto Yeshua, because he already made an example of how to get this done. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the tree, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Yah. For consider him that endured such contradictions of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. I guess, of course, the writer, I believe Timothy actually wrote this, is saying again that knowing the history and what's already been said and spoken, just experience himself, that this press, this endurance, to run this race with patience, you can't allow yourself to get wearied and faint in your minds. I mean, this is a war. It's a battle. This is a battleground, a spiritual battleground. But he makes the big statement, this is what I wanted to get to. You have not resisted unto blood, striving against sin. And we just see Jesus in Gethsemane did the same thing. He was striving so hard to resist the temptations because he knew what was going to happen and not allow this spirit of fear come into him, that he sweated great drops of blood. And again, this is what the writer is saying. We have not resisted unto blood. I don't think we've ever got that determined in ourselves to completely shut the door to sin. I mean, that takes, wow, that takes such a, look, it described Yeshua, he was in agony. Who's ever got down to that place where they're in agony praying for something? Because they want so bad to get free from the temptation that's coming upon them, from the harassment of some demonic spirits that have been plaguing them for ages, and they feel like they're in a Job experience. How many people have actually done that? Or do they just, like once or twice? Or have they ever called on anybody and said, hey brother, hey sister, somebody you trust, somebody knows, right? I need help with this. I need to get out of this. I believe if we get the people with the right kind of mind and the right love for one another, that we can get this. Yah will hear us and avenge us speedily. 1 Peter 5, First Peter chapter 5, verses 8 and 9. 1 Peter 5, verses 8 and 9. Be sober. Boy, that word keeps coming up. Be alert. Pay attention to. Be vigilant. Because your adversary, the devil, again, we know Peter, he knows who his adversary is. He's been duped by Satan on numerous occasions, so he knows them all too well. As a roaring lion walketh about, seeking whom he's looking for prey. He's looking for somebody to take down. And he's not going after the world. He's going after those that are righteous, those that are actually getting someplace, those that are striving to enter into his glory. He isn't looking for the ones so much that don't really amount to anything, because they'll probably take themselves out, but he's looking more so to take down those that are strength to the saints, the strength to those that are around them, and they're a threat to Satan's kingdom. Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing the same affliction. Remember, Jesus talked about that. Shall he find faith on this earth when he comes? Those that are able to remain in prayer, to remain steadfast, to be vigilant, to be sober, praying against the adversary of our soul. Knowing that the same afflictions, we're going to get the same temptations. We're going to get the same trials and tribulations are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. And it says in verse 8, it says to be sober. The word sober is the Greek 35:25. It just simply means to watch, right? And to be vigilant, to watch in your vigilance is the Greek 11:27 in the Thayer definition. It means to watch or to give strict attention to. So we have basically what Peter's saying is watch and give strict attention to, because your adversary, the devil, he's seeking to trip you up and remove you from your course. He's seeking to wear out your patience. He's seeking to get you to become faint and give up in this battle. That's what he's seeking to do, to wear your ass out. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 17, very simple. Pray without ceasing. I mean, why would Paul have written that if it wasn't something that he was trying to tell these people to be active in? Man, brother, I had to stop. What happened to my... Boy, I got a different Thayer definition than you got. No, you got... Oh, you broke it down. All right, I see it. All right, Brother Ugly, I had 32:5:25. He actually took the 11:27, which is where it comes from. And it means to watch, metaphorically, give strict attention to, be cautious, active, to take heed lest through remission and indolence some destructive calamity suddenly overtake you. That's actually a much better description of being vigilant. So thank you for that. All right, Mark chapter 13. Mark 13, verses 30 through 37. Mark chapter 13, verses 30 through 37. And again, the study, tonight's conversation on Blog Talk is about prayer and the temptations that come and how to pray against them and what you have to do to arm yourself to defeat the enemy of your soul. Verily I say unto you that this generation shall not pass till all these things be done. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall never pass away. But of that day and that hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels which are in heaven, neither the Son, but the Father. And he goes on to say, again, he's talking about a time that is coming. And that's when I started out the show. We're coming into, we're in a period right now that these things are ramping up. And Jesus was speaking to them then, but I think he's speaking more so to us now in this time, because it says in Daniel, the world has never seen a time as this, nor ever shall again. So we're in the best time for the coming of Yeshua, but we're going to have the greatest temptations of any people that ever were part of Yah's kingdom that walked this earth at these end times. The time of your trial, the time of your temptation, the possible day which begins a falling away and relaxing the seriousness of this fight of faith. So again, for you know not when that time is. Again, that time of your trial, the time of your temptation, that possible day which begins a falling away and the relaxing the seriousness of this fight of faith. For the Son of Man is as a man taking a far journey, who left his house and gave authority to his servants, to every man his work, and commanded the porter to watch. Watch ye therefore, for you know not when the master of the house cometh, even at evening, or at midnight, at cock-crowing, or in the morning, lest coming suddenly he find you sleeping. Again, we see the same pattern. The warning is to watch and to be sober, lest you fall asleep, unless you give up, lest you become unaware, you get weary, you get distracted with the cares, concerns of life, you grow faint, you lose faith. So again, we have the warning repeatedly, time and time again. And he said, what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch. All right, we're going to finish up on 1 Peter chapter 10. 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 10 through 12. 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 10 through 12. For he that will love life, if you want to desire to love life, if you have a drive, you sincerely want to be happy, you want to be a merry heart, and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that they speak no guile. Let him eschew evil and do good. Let him seek peace and sooth. These are all the things that we need to practice and pursue in order to get to see good days. And if you really love your life, you're going to do these things so you can see those good days while you're here going through the afflictions, the trials, the tribulations. For the eyes of Yahweh are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. Remember the fervent prayer, the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. So the eyes of Yahweh are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers, but the face of Yahweh is against them to do evil. So Peter's telling you who Yah is going to listen to and who he isn't. But hey, that concludes this short study of prayer and temptation. And again, to sum it up, it's, we can't win this battle all by ourselves. It needs to start with us, but in the times when you can feel the devil pressing on you, when you can feel these temptation comes in, when you feel these urges that you need to go pray, when you get in it, dive into with a devotion, with a passion, with a drive, and with a right, clear heart. So we can see by all the examples here that Yah will hear those that stay active and stay driving and stay determined to have him here, build up that inner passion, if that makes sense. So glory to the King. One other thing I wanted to just mention quickly, and I just thought, I was thinking about it here, and I actually wrote it down, my notes on a piece of paper, and I forgot to bring it with me. But this is just my own personal thoughts for whatever. But I'll just tell you, I was listening to the Shabbat service, not last Shabbat service, but the one before, and it just came into my mind that this is the age of division. It just came, I just dropped my head and I started to think about it. And it really is, because if you look at it on a world landscape, there's divisions going on in every facet of life: social, economic, political, financial, basic people's characteristics, white, black, white, on all levels. And this is what Satan is doing. Is he is determined. He has to divide this country to make us weak. He has to divide people in general to take away the unity. They can't conquer something that's not divided. So again, the spirits are ramping out, and you can see it in the course of the world. What's happening all over the place. This great division that's riding up, that's taking place, right? I mean, all these trials and these challenges that are continually before us every day, and it reminds me that it can start local. I mean, I had in my notes, I don't remember exactly how I worded it, but like Joe Fox, he started a division right there, and he didn't even realize what he was doing, because he retired from his post. That's basically, he abandoned his post is what he did. He was called to, basically you think he was called to be a pastor, at least that's what he will tell you, but he abandoned his post, and he caused a division right there and all the people that listened to him. And it's very subtle, but all of a sudden you got all these people that were actually listening to Pastor Joe Fox back then and counted on what his preaching meant, and all of a sudden a spirit entered in, and he's telling everybody, you seek Yah for yourself. He just caused a division amongst all those people, and probably the people on the Lamb, and he told them, you go find out the Most High for how you'd believe him to be. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to minister the word to you. That's just a subtle little thing, right? And of course, it's much greater than that. So be careful that this division, it will come to Israel. Judgment must first become at the house of Yah, but it's going to end up on our laps, and it might start small. Thankfully, we have very anointed, very solid leadership here that we can watch when the wolf is coming, but it doesn't mean that Yah won't allow it to see where our hearts truly are. So, again, you can't conquer until you get a division. You have to destroy the unity in order to get something new set in place. So I hope that makes sense. Anyway, that's the conclusion of this blog talk tonight. Again, the topic was prayer and temptation. I hope you put into definite practice about what was talked about. I'm accountable to my words. When I write these things, I just say, oh, my God, what are you doing to me, Father? What in the world? Oh, Jesus. Oh, just tell me I got to knuckle down like everybody else. I'm no exception. But I thank Yah for his truth. I thank him for his word. I thank him for his love. I thank him for my brothers and sisters. And as I always conclude my blog talks, you pray for those. Make sure you pray for Pastor Dowell. Pray for him, for his strength, for his endurance, because most of the fiery darts are coming against him. You take down the head, and the rest of it falls. And of course, you pray for your leadership, Pastor Corey, and the elders, those and heads of the fellowship. But pray for yourself. Pray one for another, that you may be healed, made whole. All right. Hey, blessings. Y'all have a great week. Strive, stay active against the battle that is going to come your way from every aspect of this life, and be encouraged. All right. Blessings, saints. Much shalom.
Uh-oh, look at him looking.